Broadford Bridge, a beautiful oasis of green between Billingshurst and West Chiltington in West Sussex, an area undisturbed, unbothered by modern life. No longer. Industrialisation is starting. Tons of concrete have been poured onto this farmland to create an oil drilling pad. Unmarked security staff and police are keeping people away, whilst heavy goods vehicles line up along country lanes to enter and leave the site.
Protection authority is who do you save your data to? Who's the collector? So I can ask what you're filming me for.
Another site north of Broadford Bridge and another rig. These drill pads are springing up all over the Weald, causing traffic and noise issues and raising fears about land, water and air pollution. Here at Brockham, environmental protectors noticed work happening through the night when daytime-only drilling was permitted. Surrey County Council is now taking action against the company. Exploration often takes residents by surprise.
I was just cycling past the camp and I stopped to find out more, and I thought, how can this be happening? And somebody at the camp then said to me, well, there's also something happening at Brockham and I didn't know about it. So I went down to Brockham and found out what the Brockham Protection Camp was all about, and I thought, my goodness me, what is happening here?
The Weald is earmarked for oil exploration on a grand scale. At Broadford Bridge, UKOG plan to drill down by up to a mile, curving as they go. They've applied to vary their environmental permit as they want to stimulate the oil using acidisation, involving chemicals, including carcinogens, a process never tried in this area before and with unknown potential impacts. This process is similar to fracking, but it's no longer classified as such by companies or the government.
Hopefully we're meeting with the government fairly shortly in the coming weeks on quite a high level to see if we can try and fast track this process so that we can actually capitalise on the fact that we have made quite I think a significant and historical, if you like, discovery here, and it would be really nice to be able to follow that out with some very constructive and step forward practices very soon, rather than have to wait another 1 or 2 years. This type of oil deposit very much depends on being able to drill your wells almost back to back, so it becomes very much like an industrialized process.
This sort of industrialised development has seen huge swathes of farmland in Australia, the US and other countries taken over by pipelines and oil pads.
I look at photos of like this and I say, well, are they going to turn our country into this? Is this what we want to live with? And I consider that the number one threat, that this will threaten our life.
So in the matter of half a dozen years, we went from 25 wells to over 200 wells. And that really changed life for us. We went from living on a farm to living in a refinery.
Lifelong environmental protector Nicola Peel from Pulborough says what is happening on our doorstep poses similar risks to us all.
Really our concern is the local water that could be contaminated, as well as the soil, the air from the flare. There will be a large gas flare which will be burning methane, carbon monoxide and other chemicals which we locally will be then breathing in. We've had a couple of geologists tell us that there are faults really close to the site, and these faults lead to the River Arun, and downstream we have the Harden Water, which 100,000 people are actually within that catchment. So the water is always everybody's greatest concern.
Those living near the site want more answers from UKOG.
We'd like to make sure that it's being done properly, and environmental impact assessments are the language of the world today. So any community, whether they're the poorest people in Africa or people sitting in West Sussex, want to feel that some form of environmental impact assessment has been done for something that's happening on their doorstep, and that the people who are objective and are neutral and are well versed can reassure us of what's going to happen. At the moment, we're in the dark.
But the more residents find out, the more worried they're becoming.
Well, we went to that original consultation that Celtic Energy did. I was rather taken in, I think, by the very sort of swish presentation, and all the emphasis was on how little they were going to be doing. And I think I feel now I was duped.
So how did you feel when you first saw that?
Really sort of gutted, really felt like a punch in the stomach.
In the Northern Rivers in Australia, the community was like David taking on Goliath, but their persistence paid off. The gas company there moved off their land. If you don't want this type of development, you need to act now, before it is too late. At Horse Hill in Surrey, people soon understood they needed to get involved.
People like me are going to the WI to speak to people there. I've contacted all local centres of influence, like the Secretary of the Labour Party, the Green Party, anybody. Obviously the Green Party people already all know, but I've also contacted like the Labour Party and educated them about what's going on. And then
we want to do this in a peaceful, good, positive way. Everybody please come and join us and help us. You know, together we can stand united and actually say we need a consultation, we need to be asked permission, and we need to protect our water and our land.
And they're actually doing it under my feet, and I'm someone who's interested in knowing to make sure they don't do it, and they're doing it behind my back right now.
How can it possibly be justified to be searching for oil when the country as a whole should not be doing it? It seems to me that the only motivation is profit for the company, and you know, that just seems such a superficial approach when, you know, the planet has got these resources, but they're finite resources if they are abused.
I've had conversations with the police that weren't able to answer some very simple questions like, what's our emergency plan? If something does go wrong, if we do have a spill of this kind of chemicals, what's our rapid response plan? They weren't able to tell me. I think we all need to stand up and speak out. And it's not like somebody else is going to fix it. And I think in this day and age, we very much feel like, well, one person, I can't do anything. But when lots of us come together and say, no, I don't want this in my backyard. I don't want this in my village, in my parish, in my county, in my country. I don't want this happening in the world.
Visit @Broadford Bridge Action Group on Facebook to see what you can do to help, or contact action@broadfordbridgeaction.co.uk to offer your support.